Dude, editing coextends far beyond your computer. It's woven in with your real life, and that's okay.
If for some reason you don't know who Schaefer is, stop what you're doing right now and go watch his videos. Okay, so now that you're all caught up to speed, let's say it on three, shall we? We're gonna say the exact same thing. 3, 2, 1. He's an amazing editor. And as you guys would guess, when he said he was willing to come on the show, I was stoked. Guys, this conversation with Schaefer was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. We talked about all things from DaVinci Resolve.
DaVinci Resolve, totally in love with DaVinci Resolve.
To his favorite part of the creative process.
Writing is for sure the best part.
Some inside baseball on both his outdoor industry edit and anger edit.
I very rarely do something by accident.
And we also went on tons of tangents about all things life because, like he said at the beginning of this, editing is
woven in with your real life, and that's okay.
So without further ado, let's dive right in. Schaefer, dude, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Oh my God. I mean, I am so excited for this episode. Big fan. Love your editing. Love your filmmaking. Just cannot wait to get full on nerdy with this episode. So thank you so much for coming on today, dude. I'm just cloud nine.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel pretty unworthy to be interviewed, but hey, I'm here for it,
dude.
So yeah, thanks for the invite. I'm stoked to be here. I'm stoked and bewildered.
No, I love it. And that's, I mean, we were kind of shooting the breeze before we started today, and I just think the magic of this is not lost on either of us. And we were joking that we're like sounding high already because we're just like, this is so cool. But no, I think again, your work is amazing, and it's funny because I feel like I'm a little bit of a longer fan than most people. And then I found out that you were like, oh, I've been doing this for 12 years. And I was like, oh, nope, I'm a brand new fan, dude. I'm still like, I got to go back in the discography because I've got lots to catch up on. But I just really excited with everything you've been doing.
I've been at this for too long. Wait, like long enough that I really should probably give up.
No.
But no, I'm just kidding. It's been a wonderful journey, and I think I'm lucky because I got interested in all of this more for practical reasons, more because I wanted to be able to look back on, things that were meaningful to me at the time, and they kind of age like wine. It's like the more you I've been at this so long that everything feels like a cliche to say, where you're like, oh, capturing your life.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like, the more you capture your life, those shots and those memories and those stories just get better and better and better looking back on them. Like, I filmed stuff in high school, and I was just looking back on my secret unlisted high school videos, and I was like, I'm so glad I have these.
Yep.
I'm really lucky, honestly, that this turned into what it has so far turned into, because up until this point, it's been more of just like I want to remember all this, and then now it's like there's a future where this could, potentially be at least one part of my job. So
yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're comfortable talking about that, but I am kind of fascinated. I mean, it does seem like YouTube could be like a legitimate career. And I'm kind of in that same boat, right? Where it's like, which is funny. I've been doing this for like 6-7 years. So I was in the same thing where I was like, man, I've been going at this for so long. And then like you were like 12, and I was like, okay, I'll sit down. I know your big mission is to just create your art full time. So that's the plan,
yes,
right? And right now, kind of what's that split look like? Just because I'm kind of curious.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like with anybody, the ideal scenario for a job situation is just like something you're fulfilled by.
Yeah.
And there has definitely been times when YouTube is like the most fulfilling medium I have access to. And so in those times, I'm like, oh yeah, this would be sick if this was full time. And then other times it starts to feel a little bit like you're having to be creative for the sake of whatever, like whatever you want to say, like for the algorithm or for the timing of like your uploads or whatever. And then at that point, it's like, okay, this doesn't feel super authentic. So where I'm at kind of feels like where I want to be at, which is like, I like the idea of kind of diversifying your content portfolio in the sense of I can upload to YouTube. There's like some, you know, in a perfect world, there's like some revenue attached to that. And then
Yep.
at the same time, I can also do like client projects, or I can do like little mini commercials, or my favorite thing to do is just telling stories about like local people in my community. It's like the most fulfilling thing,
Yep.
because like at the end of the day, it's like I was talking to someone about this with the YouTube channel. It's like I really like making videos about real people, and I like doing it so much, but only so many people have the schedule I have. Like I'm the most available person I have access to.
Yep.
And so over the course of time, it's like a lot of videos become about me because scheduling wise, that's the easiest thing to make a video about.
Yep.
But I prefer making videos about other people so much more. And so it's cool because the YouTube channel can kind of like be a part of a bigger Venn diagram of projects, I guess. And so that's the dream to me, is to like not be one thing ever.
Yep.
Except, ideally a storyteller.
Yes.
So
Yes. Totally. No, and I think that's a super healthy way to look at it. And that's kind of, I even find myself in a similar situation where it's like, I think doing it all in, maybe I'm old enough and mature enough to finally do that. Maybe. But man, you gotta be rock solid, dude, to like last in the YouTube game. And I think I'm the most equipped I've ever been. And I still feel like I'm not sure that I'm wanting to ever do that out of just pure
yeah,
fear, Like,
yeah.
I think
You also
there
got to be
could
like
a mix.
mega willing to sell Squarespace ads.
Yes,
Which
you gotta love
no,
Squarespace.
like no tea, no shade, no pink lemonade if that's what you got to do. But for me, every time I think about that, I'm like, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, like could I say a Squarespace ad?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Which at this point, through the podcast and me sharing my thoughts, it'll really, that specifically will not happen for me. But that's okay.
Yeah, you've accepted that and you're all right with that. And
I've closed
dude,
that door.
there's
Yeah.
there's no shame in that. That's fine. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
Schaefer is Schaefer because of these little pieces of integrity, and that's what people love, right? And
Dude,
I think
I
you
mean,
agree
it's
with
just like
that.
I'm building up this, I'm building up this like this temple though, where like the day I do one thing wrong though, it all comes crumbling down around me because like I'm like I'm so core, I'm so real, and then like I'll do one thing wrong and it'll all crumble down.
Yeah, your
So
your
I don't
first
know.
like Squarespace ad, and everyone just unsubscribes.
Yeah, yeah, which is that's fine. I deserve it.
Yeah, yeah,
But like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I really don't mean to like make it sound like I'm anti people getting paid to do creative work, because that's certainly not the sentiment. Like with the current format, it's like the mid-roll Squarespace ad is an incredible option. Like the fact that this is a job in general is
hmm
amazing. And so yeah, I have to be careful because I'm not anti Squarespace ad. It's just for my specific content, like I was saying earlier, this has been building over the course of my whole life. Like I've been making videos for as long as I can remember.
yeah,
And for me, because it's such a personal thing it's like I've been doing it as long as I've been, longer than I've been driving,
right,
And
yeah,
and if someone was like, "Oh yeah, I'll like pay you to put, well, that's a terrible example, but all that to say, it's like it's very personal to me, and so to put ads on it feels very, very weird,
yes, yeah,
So it has to be the right kind of cocktail of brand and creation amalgamation for it to make sense. But
yes.
I'm certainly for people who have this where it's just like, yeah, this is like how I fund my dream. I don't want to be the guy who's like, well, that's lame.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I think that, yeah, just like you said, there is no shame in that. And I think too, it's just what you're okay with, right? And that's honestly something like I think a lot of people, if they were to, again, not that I'm like this expert who's got all this success, but I do think, like speaking from my own personal experience, if someone was like, hey, I want to kind of start doing YouTube, like what would you say? I'd be like, well, like just do it for fun and have another job, and
Yeah.
like especially like with what kind of, and I feel the same way as you. Like I can totally see a future where like you're saying you love like filming and storytelling. It's like I can see editing being like the 9 to 5, right? It's like that fulfills me and I could do that for other people, but there's always going to be some facet of like the YouTube channel, which right now I'm really into editing. That's what it's about. But like the day that that stops, like say it burns me
Yeah.
out, like I'll go make a channel about, I don't know, Legos or, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Well, it should be fun. Like
yeah,
it should be fun. If it gets to the point where it's not fun, then I don't know, maybe it's time to reevaluate because uh yeah, I don't know. It's like first off, there's nothing wrong with having a job. Like I
hmm
think like you were saying, like having a job to fund the fun, creative passion thing is like a very natural, healthy way to balance a life out. Like you
yes,
have to have a work life and you have to have something that fulfills you outside of work. And I think you see a lot of creator burnout when those things become indistinguishable from each other. It's like, well, what's left? It's
yeah,
like the thing that brought me so much joy is stressing me out so much. Like what, that intersection is a very dangerous place. And so I'm a big advocate of like separate your life into a bunch of different places. Have your work life, your creative life. And I mean, if you're able to make it so that like your creative passion has some sort of financial whatever, like byproduct, like great. But I do think it's a dangerous thing to get into it because there's money in it. First off, because it's really, really hard. And second off, because as soon as money gets involved, it changes. Like it does
it
change. So
changes immediately. Yes.
I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I'm still figuring all this out too. But
Oh, dude, no. But, and that's the thing, everyone
I don't
is.
want to fall out
Everyone
of love
is.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Well, and another great example that I've had, we were kind of talking about like outdoorsy stuff before, again, when we were just shooting the breeze. But like, I made one time, I tried to make like a Craig Adams backpacking video because I love backpacking, dude. Like, backpacking is like just S tier. Like, every time I do it, my soul is like the fullest it ever hits. Like, and I love
Dude,
like
new
taking my
mission unlocked.
camera.
Schaefer and Jake go backpacking this summer. That would be
Don't,
fun.
don't. I'm so down. I'm so down. I love it. And like, again, I always take my camera because I love taking pictures and like remembering it because it's just my favorite thing. But I was like, I'm gonna try it. Like, I'm gonna try and make the video, and I love that video. And I've rewatched it so many times, and like for the memory, it was great. But there is a little part of like, man, it made that so much less fun to have to set up the tripod,
Yeah.
go hike. I mean, it was way more tiring, let alone
Yeah.
like trying to film everything. And I'm so happy I have it. But like you said, it kind of took the fun out of that. And that's always been sticking in my brain of like, you have to keep that in mind with whatever it is that like fills your cup, which, like you said, it's your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
When are you going to attach something to it that ruins it, and be very mindful of that? And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah. I mean,
super respectable.
well, I'm not like old and wise or anything, but the older I get, the more I am valuing the word and the idea of balance. Just you need to have balance. And that comes in all forms, like balance the negative with the positive, balance the work with the fun, balance it. And to be a fulfilled, full human, you need the full spectrum.
hmm
And
Yeah.
so if the goal is to have a YouTube channel where you're consistently creatively fulfilled and you're making a ton of money from it and everything, it's like, I don't know, it's like that almost sounds boring to me. It's like I need more. I need challenge. I need yeah, yeah, it just needs to be a full life.
Yeah.
And so that's the goal now. It's not consistent happiness. It's just being okay with the fact that a life is a very complex, dirty, messy thing.
Yes.
And it's because of yeah, I was just listening to your interview with Jesse, and he said the whole thing of like what did he say? It's like your mistakes are your style
Yes. Yes.
or something. I love that. That was
Best
so
quote.
cool. So yeah.
Yeah. Dude, it's so true. Cause like, and I loved having, when he told me about that, I was like just blown away because I was like, that makes total sense because he's like, when I start on a project, I have everything laid out and it would be so much cleaner. But it's like a Jesse video has all these bits, bobs, reshoots, different sets, whatever. And it's like, holy crap, like I had no idea that none of that was planned. Like that's kind of frustrating that that's your like style to save it, is because like the first time you did it, you didn't like it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Man, what a wizard he is.
oh, he's such a wizard. Love it. Okay, I always do this segment on the show where I ask rapid fire questions. Some of them are editing related, which will hopefully maybe get us into a little bit more of some of the editing nerdy specifics, which I'm super pumped on. And some of them are
Let's do it.
completely random. So definitely, hopefully, have a
Perfect.
good mix. Again, you probably are prepped for some, which is good. And hopefully, I've got some new ones. So, first
Okay.
rapid fire question being the editing dad. Do you have a editing software of choice that you are using right now?
Um, DaVinci Resolve, totally in love with DaVinci Resolve. I have literally nothing bad to say about it, which is coming from someone who is like well versed in complaining about editing softwares. So that's a big compliment. I will dip into Premiere every now and then if I need to do something just super fast because I put so many years into it. It's like my keyboard shortcuts are just like
Yeah.
so fat. I can just edit a whole video in like so quickly in Premiere. So I don't know, maybe once a month I'll do something in Premiere. And then After Effects, I'm a pretty big After Effects user, even though I hate it. I would love to learn like the whatever the Fairlight or whatever the DaVinci like After Effects thing is, but
Fusion.
haven't
Yeah.
quite gotten there. And then more recently, I've also been doing quite a bit of stuff in Logic Pro X, so that's a little bit of a teaser for what's to come because
Ooh,
that's new.
dude.
But DaVinci Resolve is like you can't beat it.
I'm gonna make a little note here to circle back on the logic thing. I've got some
Okay.
questions if you're down to talk about it, but
Yeah. I'm
okay.
super down.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. And I was gonna ask. So DaVinci is I think because again in videos I think I've seen you like it's up in stuff and being used. But so Premiere you used to use. Have you ever used like Final Cut? Just out of curiosity.
No,
Or
I never have. So I wish I could. I wish I could say something negative about it for the just because that's how my brain works. Because I have to justify everything. But no, I just really like DaVinci a lot.
I'm like you. I started in Final Cut and I've been using Resolve like crazy, and it's so good. Like you said, it's hard to it's hard to complain. Like it's not perfect for sure, but when you've used the other ones, there's just so much there that it's hard to
Yeah.
complain about it.
And just the fact it doesn't crash. Like I have
Dude,
such a low bar. Like if you can just not crash and like the automatic auto save everything, like you can just
mhm.
close the thing and your project is saved from your most recent edit. It's just like what why would that not be
Yeah, why?
what how is that not the first feature of every editing software? It doesn't crash and it auto saves. That's like
Yeah,
worth it just that.
yeah.
So
I've
big
never
fan.
I've never thought, oh wow, that last half hour that I spent, I could actually like hit Command Z on that half hour.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Literally, like, oh, I wish I hadn't done an hour of work. That, yeah,
Like
it's
even
so
if you
silly,
don't
but that's
use it, you're never just like, I don't want
yeah,
it where it's
yeah,
at. Like
yeah. So,
that's called duplicate
um,
timeline right there.
yeah, yeah. So I've been on Resolve for like 3 years now, and I feel like every day I just fall more in love with it. I remember when I first opened Lightroom, and I was like, "Whoa, wouldn't it be cool if like there was a video version of Lightroom?" And then I got Resolve, and I was like, "Lightroom has limited options.
Yeah.
The color options in Resolve are like nothing I've ever seen anywhere else. So
I
it's cool.
I low key have been making my thumbnails in DaVinci.
Yeah, same,
Yeah.
dude, same. Yeah, it's it's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I love and honestly like you said, like even some of the like if you really want like a super vibey photo, which everyone loves right now, like throw it in DaVinci and use all the effects, and like it's so much easier to get there than like any of the photo software stuff. Like
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Yeah, I feel really lucky to live at the same time that this is an option. And then the fact that 99% of it is free for people to use and learn is just like,
Crazy.
how could you get better? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure I'll have plenty more questions in that sphere, but love that answer. And my next rapid fire question was favorite editing snack and why is it not slime?
dude, we got to circle back. Okay. Remind me to talk about both Jesse Driftwood and slime because I have a Jesse Driftwood slime story. But
Oh, yeah. Okay.
uh, my favorite editing snack lately has been, and this is the most boring answer ever, but raw almonds.
Yeah.
I'm trying to bulk up and have hot boy summer, and so I've traded all my favorite editing snacks for raw almonds, but previously fruit snacks like
Ooh,
Sour
yeah.
Patch Kids. We just in town got a Natural Grocers, and they have these things called lemonade rings that are
Ooh,
like so yeah, I miss them, but yeah, raw almonds guy.
dude, yeah. Oh, it's actually been a pretty common answer for
Oh,
the
really? Oh, cool.
yeah, for the obvious reasons in that it's pretty filling and it's not super dusty, so you're not juicing your keyboard too bad. But I'm with you, dude. Like the little gummy candy stuff is dangerous and
Every time I drive my car and get gas, I can't not get like Sour Patch Kids or something.
yeah.
It's truly a problem. And then yeah, anytime I go like skateboarding or mountain biking or whatever, if I don't have some gummy snacks in my bag, I like will not go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's that bad.
Dude, total side tangent. I have not given a flying F about just about any YouTuber product, but Ryan Trahan's sour candy, I'm like, oh, I'm annoyed that I was late and missed it and it sold out because I was like, I want to try that
I didn't know
because
he
I
had
love
that. Yeah,
sour
that's
gummy
genius.
candy.
Yeah, whoa, that's a really smart
Yeah.
influencer product. I didn't know he was doing that. That's really sick.
Yeah. I normally just like do not care. And then I saw that and I was like, okay, I think I might have found my first one that I
Yeah,
might
you
actually
and me,
try and use.
you and me are like the target demographic for that exactly.
And he was like, it's got less sugar. It tastes just as good. Natural colors. I was like, shut up. Shut up.
Yeah, literally say no more.
You can have my money. Just let me know when it's back in stock. But
Dang, I'm kind of mad at you for making me aware of that.
sorry, I apologize. But
Oh, dude,
well, hey,
that's
when
okay.
we're backpacking, we'll make sure we've got it in there,
Yeah,
and we'll
yeah.
crack it at the top of a mountain and see how good it is.
Oh, dude, that has to happen.
I'm so down. Next rapid fire question, which apparently was maybe a good one because you teased the Logic stuff, but I was going to ask if you can play an instrument.
Yeah, so I play a little bit of guitar, like to the extent of which I don't even know if I really could say I play guitar. Uh, but I'm learning. I am learning, and I am
Okay.
once I get hooked on learning something, it's usually within a year that I feel comfortable saying I do the thing.
Yep.
So I'm a couple months out from saying like I play guitar. I
Yep.
am a guitar player. But my journey has begun.
If you're doing it, I think you can say it, but just qualify it as I'm not good, and then I'm sure you surprise everyone that way, and then they're like, "Oh no, you're
Yeah,
not bad."
Yeah.
But,
I would love to learn how to play piano because yeah, part of what I'm on a mission to do is to create a lot more of my own, like I don't even know if music is the right word, but a lot of my own atmospheres and tones in my video. And guitar is good for that. But like a MIDI keyboard is really good for that. So
dude, yes,
that's
I've got a little tiny one in the back here. Like even just like this
yeah.
to sit on your desk and just be able to make like atmosphere stuff and Logic is like worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. So I'm on that journey right now. But yeah, I think I've always kind of held music aside for I really like I like the feeling of being intermediate beginner more than I like the feeling of being like pretty good at something.
Yeah.
So like when I was getting into filmmaking and stuff, I had the most fun when I would go on and I'd watch, a Peter McKinnon video or whatever, and I'd learn some new like tip or trick.
Yep.
And then it was like my mind expanded into this whole new world of possibility. Now I'm to a point where like that feeling is rare.
Yes.
But with music, it's like every little thing I learn, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. So yeah, I've held music aside purposefully for a couple of years because I'm like, I don't want to rush that
Yes.
feeling of being an intermediate beginner. And that's something you can do when when your knees don't work
Yep.
and your back is totally fried. So yeah, music will be a big part of who I am, which I think is exciting. It's cool to know there's like something for me in the future, but I can't help but start now because I'm very interested in it.
Oh, for sure. No, dude, gosh, you're just speaking my language because I'm trying. I mean, like the parallel is like when you first learned like that backlighting is like the cinematic secret, and then anytime you're filming something and it's not backlit, you're just sitting there going like, God damn it. Whereas like when you first started, you're like, yeah, this looks pretty good. Whatever, I don't care. I'm just like living in bliss, and then you're like, ooh, that shot was really nice. I don't know why, and then you learn like, oh,
Yeah.
it's because it was backlit, and now I can't unsee that anywhere I go.
Yeah, yep. It's funny too, because like people when they're learning something, like the feeling of being a beginner is something people are afraid of. Like, but for me, it's like, dude, that's the sweet spot. That's where you want to be. That's when it's exciting.
It's magical.
It's magical. And so I have had a bad habit of just like giving up on hobbies after I pass intermediate. Then I'm just like, this isn't really fun anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Once you know how the sausage is made, it's just like anything in life, which I feel like has been a real reoccurring theme for me lately, is just like once you pass a certain threshold, you kind of realize like, oh, like there's no big secrets to anything.
yeah.
Right. And then it's
Yeah.
like you kind of get a little jaded, which sounds like what you're saying, but
Yeah, and also like the ultimate lesson is the big secret to everything is practice. Like it's such a cop out answer and people hate to hear it.
hate it.
But when they're like, how do you X, Y, or Z? And the answer is practice, it's just the truth. And yeah, like falling in love with practice and falling in love with learning will take you so far if you want to learn like a lot of things. But yeah, sometimes I'm envious of the people who are like really, really, really good at like one thing and they passed intermediate and stuck with it. But it's not how I prefer to.
Yeah.
I just like, again, it's balance. I like having a wide diversity of interests and yeah.
I think it makes you a more interesting person personally, but
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, potentially, but then there's also those people who are like fully sold out on one thing and they're just like freaks of nature. And you're like, you're also very interesting.
Yes. Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's almost more fascinating to just be like, how do you keep doing it? Like what?
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. Yeah. And from an outsider perspective, it never seems as much like it fills them with joy, which is interesting. Like when people are amazing at something, they usually like burn out of it, which is,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of who I would put in that category that I can think of off the top of my head that surprises me. Do you have anyone?
The one that stands out in my head is like I'll watch like interviews of Shaun White, and since he quit snowboarding, he like did an interview and he's like, yeah, now I'll just like go snowboarding for fun. And I was like, wouldn't that have been the point all along?
Right.
Like like you would think to get that good at something, you would do it because it like fills you with joy and it's fun and it's exciting. But when there's that much pressure to be the best, I don't know. It's very interesting it's just an interest. I don't have any real thought out opinions about it because I've never been exceptional at anything the way Shaun White is exceptional at snowboarding. But
yeah,
I don't know.
No,
because from the outsider's point of view, you're like, I want to be that good at something. But then the people who are that good at something don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, speaking from personal experience, I've done that where like in high school, and I think this is where my love for editing started, was like all GarageBand, Logic, music stuff. Like I was the music freak. And it just reached a point, like you said, where it was like, I don't know why, but I just know so much that like this just isn't fun anymore. And so then I picked, you know,
Mm-hmm.
then like everyone in our generation like found Peter McKinnon and all that, and I was like, okay, I guess
Yeah.
cameras is the next thing. And then like
Yeah.
just like learned everything about photo and video, and like that reached a point too where I was just like, no, I'm bored of this, and now it's editing. So like I've been jumping for years from like
Yeah.
intermediate to intermediate to intermediate. I don't know. We'll see. Editing has stuck like the longest. If you look at that thread, that's been the one that, even if it wasn't at the forefront, has been through all of it. And I'm just
Yeah.
realizing that like you know, the last like 6 months, but we'll
That's
see.
exciting. That's
Yeah.
super exciting. I love how like no one will admit it, but Peter McKinnon's like our Gandalf. He's just
Dude,
always been there. Like everyone, yeah, some people will like stop watching him or some people will have opinions about whatever he's doing, but it's like he's our Gandalf.
he's our
We
Gandalf.
need him.
Yeah, he grabbed all of us hobbits and took
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, and it bums me out because I do. I mean, like you, I die hard, just like have loved him for forever, and I feel like naturally it does seem like his trajectory has slowed significantly, and it's kind of one of those things like we've talked about where it's like, dude, I would just love to see you just keep making like whatever. That's the thing. Is like I don't care what you do. It's like Jesse. It's like Jesse could make a video about I don't know, anything, and I would watch it. I
Hmm.
feel the same way about Pete. It's like your perspective and how you see things is what I find interesting. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes I just
Well,
wish he would just
I
make
think
more random videos because I'm here for it.
yeah. Yeah, I really look up to the fact that and I don't, I don't know him, so all of this is just third party speculation and all, but
Yeah.
it seems to me in the past couple of years he's really been narrowing in on what he likes to do.
Hmm.
And then he prioritizes that. So it seems like his photo book thing is the priority right now.
Yep.
And to have a whole army of people out here who are like, post videos. And he's just like, I'm working on a book. And like the book will go to way fewer people than, one of his videos would.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like artistic integrity, and I look up to it a lot. So I feel similarly where it's like, we want Peter McKinnon
More,
videos.
more.
But then yeah, but then at the same time, like as someone who has been in the creative rat race, it's like someone who prioritizes their vision and their projects above what people want from them.
Yeah.
To me, is an admirable quality. So I try not to be too you know too disappointed about anything like that because it does seem like he's just following his heart,
For sure.
which is pretty sick. And
Yeah.
yeah, also I don't know how it happened that like Peter McKinnon is our Gandalf and then like Toronto is Camelot. How are all those guys? How is Jesse like? What is with that weird sector of Canada that everyone is like? Everyone is there. How
I
did
don't
that
know.
happen?
I don't know. I've wondered that so much.
There's like nothing there.
Yeah, there's nothing there. I don't know why that has like been the yeah, like it's like the river or no, where was the council? Now the
I don't
nerdness
know. I've
is
actually never seen
cracking.
Lord of the Rings, which is why I put Gandalf and Camelot
In
in the same
Camelot. Yeah,
analogy.
yeah, yeah. Well, I can't correct you because I can't remember the river something where they go meet. But well, hey, sticking with this, you know, just absolutely rapid fire trends that we're on of just blazing through these so quickly.
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, rapid fire.
rapid fire. When you're doing an edit, do you typically have the music in place first or last? Which again, based on what you said, I'm thinking maybe last is more common, but I'm curious to hear your thought process there.
I honestly think that changes a lot. Like,
Hmm.
if I find a song and the song sparks an idea, then it will work in that order. It will be like, oh, this song will be perfect for filming, like whatever. And then vice versa is if I go film something, I'm like, man, this needs like a whatever, like a big ethereal cinematic boom or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
Then I'll edit accordingly. But I have a pretty like I have a pretty all over the place like writing style in the sense of like the best way I can describe it is like I kind of let my my life unfolding be the writing process. It's like if I ever am facing like creative block, my number one tactic is to just like put it away and go live some life
Yep.
and touch grass and so on
Yep.
because I feel like that informs the process more than any order of things, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So it's like if I have something I'm trying to communicate, like whether it be like music is something that spurs it on or not, it's like it all kind of happens kind of at the same time.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a vague answer, but it's the
No,
best way I can describe it.
totally. No, I mean, I always ask because personally, I don't think there's a right answer, but I find it fascinating that a lot of people feel strongly. Like, I think Dan Mace recently, and I made a video about this, was talking about how like he scores his videos. So like it's all cut and then he makes the music in post. I'm like,
Well,
that's crazy. Like
yeah.
I think that's so
He's also a
cool.
super talented recording
Dude.
artist. So
Yeah.
it probably makes sense for someone with his caliber of
Yeah.
creative musical prowess. But
Yeah.
for normies like me, it's like if I find a good song, it's like I am not above
Using it.
like
Yeah.
basically commodifying the tone of that song
Yep.
for my own good.
Yeah. And I think that that's just like how it has to be, like you said, for the normies, which I guess you're right. As I'm thinking through it, he is absolutely like, it's like story, cut. And as he's doing that, his head is probably going, like, I know almost exactly what I need. So it's there
Yeah.
mentally. And then I'm going to go fill it in later. Whereas, but that's what I
Right.
find so fascinating because, like you said, which I guess he's probably doing a little bit with how he gets inspired. Like, if I hear a good song, it can inspire an idea, like maybe it doesn't totally dictate the edit, but it's like, ooh, like that guitar lick is perfect, and I can, like
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna go somewhere or whatever. And so
Well, that's the thing.
yeah,
It's like a level higher than where I'm at that I'm trying to get to is like there are times when I'm like, oh yeah, that would be perfect there. I guess I got to go find it.
yes,
But to have the ability to be like, oh, that would be so cool to incorporate this tone, and then to just be able to sit down and then you have it and it's your own is something I aspire to. So
yep, I feel the same way, and I would like to do that more often. God,
yeah.
copycat.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
That's
sir.
actually kind of what I'm best at is copying other people and making it look like I came up with it.
Dude, but that, I don't know, like the
Oh,
whole,
it's the way
it's
the
the
way
way
you
it
do it.
is.
I mean, it's just
Yeah,
yeah, it's the way it is.
like
Um,
evolution,
yeah, I'll never
iteration.
be sorry
That's
about it.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah.
we're
Unless I'm legitimately plagiarizing something, I'm never gonna feel bad about it.
yeah. Which I don't know. Some people like debate how like that line is gray, and I'm like, it's usually pretty black and white. It's like
Yeah,
you
well,
know it when
it's
you
the same
see it.
thing as like what is transformative content? It's like
Yeah,
I don't know, but you kind of can tell.
yeah.
You know?
Like it's pretty. I feel like it's a human trait to just be like, yeah, that's not like you're just that's shot for shot the same thing. Like try a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, no, this one might not be rapid because now I'm realizing as I read back this question I wrote, you might have a lot to say about it. But
Okay.
coffee, tea, or hot chocolate?
Oh my gosh, I the answer is coffee. Like
Yeah,
I love it so much.
because
I
you're
have
making it
such.
now. I wrote that a while ago, and I was like, oh no, I
Oh
realized
yeah,
that he's making his
yeah.
own coffee.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, roasting my own beans in the old popcorn maker just for the cheap thrill of being like beginner intermediate. But yeah, I love coffee so much. Um, and the thing is like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna saddle up on my high horse here, but when I quit smoking and drinking, after that, I was like, I'm not going to feel bad about coffee.
Yeah,
It's of all the things to be addicted to, it's a pretty reasonable one. Um, so I don't feel bad about it, but yeah, I'm like a 3 cup a day kind of guy.
oh yeah, yeah. That's where I've been at. It's like I'm not. Well, I even tried. I think it was a couple weeks ago. I tried decaf, and I've already stopped because it's just like, okay, I would rather try to work towards like a 1 or 2 cup existence of caffeinated
Yeah.
rather than
Well,
drinking a bunch of
it's not
decaf.
like
Like,
nicotine or something. It's not like a, it's
yeah,
the it's not that bad for you
no,
compared to so many other things. And at some point it's like some of the like internet health trend thing is sort of depriving yourself just for the sake of depriving yourself. But
yeah.
I don't know. I love coffee and I don't really feel that bad about it, even though like yeah, like I don't know. There's definitely a culture of people who are like, you got to get off caffeine, dude.
Yeah, you
And it's like,
gotta.
no, I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, my grandpa is still 95 and he's been drinking it his whole
Yeah,
life.
exactly. Exactly.
So,
Yep. Yep. And yeah, I don't know if anyone has shared this with you, but we all actually do die. So
oh,
it's like, I just found that out actually, and it bummed me out. But I was like, dang, if that's the case, I better start drinking more coffee
dude,
because,
you just rocked my world. Yeah, okay, I'm not cutting back. I need 8 cups a day before I die.
yeah, yeah.
Well, and like, uh, is this worth sharing? Maybe it is. Like, just a weird, like,
Yes.
universe coincidence. So, like, you were talking about home roasting, which was super funny because I'm actually working on another video with a buddy who, like, was gonna totally he's a coffee guy and he was like gonna make fun of people who like home roast because he's going to like a roastery to like learn about the process. And I was just laughing because I was like,
Oh, nice.
I have to ask Schaefer about this, but then I'm gonna learn all about how like complicated and weird it is and all this
Oh, dude.
stuff. I was just like, the
The funny
universe is
thing is,
crazy.
from his perspective, I fully understand that point of view because my little sister who by the way is both my sisters they're my motivating force. They're just the best ever. But my little sister is a um like sort of a tattoo artist in training.
Uh-huh.
And in the tattoo world, that's the same thing. It's like if you don't apprentice, if you don't do a proper apprenticeship, then you're seen as like less than
Mhm.
someone who like goes and like does it themselves. And I see both sides because on one hand, it's like, well, if you're able to do a stunning tattoo, I don't really care about what the
Right.
backstory is there. It has the same tone to me as like, oh well, you didn't go to film school.
Yes. Yes.
But at the same time, I understand. I understand. There's like a history and a culture behind coffee and behind tattoo. That's like there's a proper way, and so
Yep.
I see both sides. But coffee is like similar in the sense like you're supposed to learn from a master, and
Yep.
but I don't know. I don't have time, so
No, and
I'll
and
just make it.
and it's funny because again, I like have been working with this guy, and I mean, dude, I make pot coffee every morning. I mean, I'm no snob, like so. It's like
Yeah,
when you said that, I was like, oh, that sounds kind of fun. Like maybe one day I'll add that to my random list of hobbies that I just like screw around with,
yeah.
and it'll probably be terrible, but like I'll have fun doing it.
Well, dude, one thing that's cool about filmmaking is in this sense, it's like if you're gonna make a film about a guy who's pro, do the right thing, study under a roaster kind of thing. What I've been learning about filmmaking is you, as a storyteller, are able to tell the story of someone that you either like don't agree with or they have a perspective that's outside your own, and you can make a whole video that isn't your perspective. And that to me is like unlocking my brain so much right now is this thing of like, wow, I don't have to agree with everyone.
Mhm.
I don't have to disagree with everyone. There's so many perspectives
Yep.
in this world about so many different things. And I'm becoming more and more interested in just being basically like the canvas that someone else gets to paint on, That's what's cool about telling someone else's story is you have the resources to do it, but they have all of this knowledge and experience that's like outside of your sphere. So that's just a rambly way of saying everyone's different and that's cool.
Yep. Which is a great, I mean, it's the perfect synopsis of how to say that. Okay, next question. Do you prefer headphones or speakers when you're hitting flow state? What do you find to be the most enjoyable?
I am super lucky to live alone, and so I I do like speakers
Yes.
because I don't have to feel bad. I actually live below a coffee shop that's only open at night.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, all day I could just blast whatever I want down here. It's awesome. But lately I've been more of a headphone guy because I think it's easier to be critical of the fine details with headphones.
Yeah.
So I've been finding myself more. I actually just got a pair of like legit over-ear headphones for that exact reason. I've never had them. I've always just used AirPods. So
Yeah.
I'm getting pretty serious.
You're getting pretty well. Again, if you're making your
Kind
own
of a big
music, you
deal.
need some over-ear
Yeah.
headphones.
Yeah, that was exactly what spurred it. So
I've been meaning to dump some money into something like that because all of mine are like old and the felt is falling off, and I get
it's not a fun thing to buy.
No.
It really, you don't open the box and you're like, ooh,
Whoa.
headphones.
exactly. I use AirPods all the time though, and this is like the dumbest reason, but
They're
I
amazing.
think it makes total sense. Is like that's what most people use to watch your stuff. So like you might as well at least kind of know what they're in for.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's the same thing as like if you edit with headphones, you also have to do a pass over the speakers.
Mhm.
It's like you have to kind of edit for what people are going to consume. And yeah, I would say an AirPod pass through is an essential.
Yes.
That's essential.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, and I totally feel you on the speaker thing though, because like that was when I built the shed, I was like, this is the greatest upgrade so that I can just like blast it and not have something in my ears or on my dome. Like
that's awesome. That is awesome. Well, I'm showing my hipster cards here, but I also just got into vinyl, and so I also have been spinning some vinyl in here, which has been pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I'm basically the quintessential millennial.
Millennial hipster, dude. I love
Yeah.
it.
And proud.
That's a whole nother tangent, but just like we're reaching that age where we're not cool anymore, and I've never felt more proud of being there, which just like totally
dude,
brings the whole thing.
I feel like
full
you'll
circle.
understand this, but I just understand dads so much more than I did when I was a teenager. I'm like, wait, dads are like, they get it. They just don't care.
They get it.
They just do whatever they want.
Yep.
It's sick.
As a dad myself, I feel like I've reached like my final Pokemon form, and I'm like, just I'm here. I've arrived, and I didn't know I need.
It's
I didn't know it.
respectable, dude. Yeah, it's like enlightenment is just the moment when you could just be yourself.
Yeah, because man, there's no more freeing feeling than just like I don't care. Like I know who cares and they don't care, and like everyone else, it's like take it or leave it. And like man, you hit that apex existence.
Yeah, it's pretty epic. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I still care too much about what people think, but I'm getting better every year.
I mean, I think it happens differently to everyone. For me, it was for sure like having a kid. Like that was like the final notch of just like, oh, I mean, first of all, because you just don't have time to care about anything. Yeah. But then like, you're just like, yeah, like I'm just me, and I got to figure out how to like do this. And that's,
let's say I'm stoked to unlock that achievement.
It's quite the ride,
dude. I can't imagine. It terrifies me thinking about it, and then at the same time, I'm like, I have to do that in my lifetime.
Hopefully, we stay in touch because I would love to like hear about if and when that happens for you, that experience. Because again, not to like be like, oh, I know everything and I can see stuff, but I feel like Dad Schaefer. I cannot wait to meet him.
Oh, me too. Me too. I hope he's good.
Okay, my last rapid fire question is a real zinger, dude. And I'm not trying to spill too much beef over here, but do you need a new Jake for Friends with Benedicts?
Yeah, I'm getting sick of Jake. My God. If I could just figure out some way to cut Jake out of my life, then everything would be okay. No, dude, man, Jake has been Jake just completely changed my life in every sense of the word. Like that dude just unlocked so much of my potential. And, from the moment I saw any of his work, he's been someone that I've he's very high on the list of people that I creatively look up to, and then getting to know him. He might be the top of the list as far as people that I look up to, just as far as like, life is concerned. Like I'm so lucky to have him as a friend.
Yeah.
And I just, there are some people that you just go through so much with, and Jake is one of those people. And I think when you go through that much with somebody on the other end, you see who they really are, and then you can kind of say like, oh, they're great, but there's this, and this that I don't, necessarily vibe with or whatever. I would have to sit here and think for months to come up with a complaint about Jake Fruit. That guy, he's just the best. I'm lucky he's not super annoyed by, I don't know. He's so awesome.
Yeah, dude. And that totally encapsulates like why I don't think we were recording when I told you about that, but I think that's why I love the show so much, is like you can just tell like how genuine the friendship is. And I think that whether you can relate to that with your own friendship that's similar, like from my experience with like my best friend, like that's why I love the show, because it just feels like I'm sitting down and looking in a mirror if we were to have a podcast. But then if you want that, like it's a great example of like you can just tell like, okay, this is kind of like, maybe I don't have it yet, maybe I'm looking for that friend, like this is what it is. And dude, I just love it so much. I think it just shows that everyone, like you said, everyone's special, everyone's different, and like the chemistry of finding like your people can be challenging, but like when you find it, like like you just know. So
yeah, and to be honest, I don't know if I've ever like talked about this before, but I feel like there was a long period of time where I was just like, and it's funny because Jake and I, both of our brains work this way, but like I was like pretty unsure as to whether or not he like liked me or vibed with me, and I was like, and then it's so funny now, like after going through so much together, it's like I don't wonder about that, I don't doubt it. And I just feel super and I'm lucky in the sense too of like I have a lot of friends like that, like that are just like friends for life, will be there for you no matter what. And dude, I would throw my YouTube in the garbage can for any of those people. So I'm lucky.
Oh, so well said. Dang. All right. Well, let me know if he ever wants to retire and you need a new Jake. But until then, you guys just keep crushing it.
Deal. I got my, what is that? Second line Jake? I don't know anything about football.
Oh.
Isn't there like first line quarterback and second line quarterback or something?
I think so, or sub, or I don't know. The only sport I ever played was soccer, which is just the laughing stock of our country. So I don't bring it up too often. Dude, not
anymore. Now it's like people like love soccer now.
I know. I'm like, damn it. Call me a hipster. I was doing it way before it was cool.
Yeah.
Which ironically now I like don't watch any of it because I'm just like an adult and fell out of love with it.
I'm not a big sports guy. I'm learning to be a team player. I've always been pretty independent. So like even with filmmaking, when I work with, that was like another thing with Jake that was like a learning curve that I've been really stoked on the outcome of, is like learning to work with another person creatively. It's like no matter what anyone says, it's not easy because especially when it's like two, like, for me and Jake both, like we both care a lot about the quality of whatever we put our names on, and for that to align for any pair of creative people is difficult. But I also think that struggle creates better work. Like I've recently become a big fan of the new MGMT album, and I've listened to a bunch of interviews with them, and they talk all the time about their creative disagreements, and I think their new album is an absolute work of art. So it's necessary, but for someone like me, team playing is hard.
It's weird to wrap your mind around something that you think is artistically perfect and then learn that it's actually a compromise of several people and just go like, wait, how is it this good if there's been compromise?
Yeah, how could a compromise be like this? Yeah. That's such a good way to put it.
All right, well, that was the rapid fire questions. An hour and 3 minutes in, we've gotten through what I usually try to do is like the speed round.
Yeah, I talk too much.
No, dude, it's great. I mean, again, I love calling.
I love
calling it that because then like usually that's what happens, and it's like, whatever. It's just fun.
Yeah. Okay.
So really, the first big, which again I think we've kind of hit bits and bobs here. Like the first big question I had for you that I'm just dying to know is like, I think in general, and again, speaking from a little bit of experience, like you've said, the whole process, especially when you're starting out, like you have to do it all. But like as the editing nerd obsessor right now, like do you love editing? And like when I think about like the creation of a video, like scripting, filming, editing, thumbnail, whatever, the whole pipeline, like if you had to kind of rank which parts you enjoy most, like where does
Mm,
editing fall? Because you're a fantastic editor, but I would be curious to know if you're
mm.
like, it's not my favorite part.
I like uploading. That's pretty.
That's pretty
That's pretty
sick.
swag. Um, yeah, I like being done with editing. Um, no, I enjoy it. Like, I think, I think the problem I'm having is the more my taste improves, the more critical I am of my editing work, and then
Mhm.
therefore the more time I spend per edited minute. So, like an edited minute of video used to take me, if I was being the most critical of my own work, it used to take me, maybe like 2 hours of work.
Mhm.
And now it'll take me, anywhere from two weeks to 2 months. And then in certain cases, like there'll be ideas I'll have and I'll have, things shot and I won't finalize the edit years down the road and then I'll just throw it away because it's a year, you know what I mean? Like I've
Right.
become so critical that editing is just massive. It's not just time consuming, but it's energy consuming too because I'm just sitting here looking at it just being like this is not good enough. This is not what you want it to look like. Like how are we going to change this? And then so it's become a little bit of a like a it's like going to the gym. It's like I have to do it.
Yeah.
Um but I love it. It's like same with going to the gym. It's like every time I go to the gym, it's hard, but by the time I'm done, I'm like, that was absolutely worth the time. And so I feel similarly about editing. It's like it's hard.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna stop doing it. It's essential for my well being.
Yeah. No, and I think I mean, I love asking that question because, like, having worked with several different people, like you said, kind of that collaboration aspect and like being an editor, there's people that I've worked for that are just like, I hate this. I cannot do this. Like, I only like the filming and writing, but like editing is the
hmm
worst. I need you to do all of this, or I'm just going to take years to do it, or whatever, or not like it. But then, yeah, you kind of run into some of those conflicts with some people where they're like, well, I still really like it, but I would like some help. And that's almost like kind of more challenging in certain aspects. So, like, that's why I'm curious with you is like, it seems like maybe you do like the filming and writing pieces the most then. But like you said, you have to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
all of it. But
Right, right, right. Yeah. Well, it's just I like them in different ways. Like, luckily, a lot of the things I make videos about are pretty fun things, and so when I'm filming, I'm usually like doing something that's really fun and more often than not outside. And so I love being outside. I love doing fun things. But then as far as like fulfillment, like the writing is for sure the best part because like when I'm writing, I feel like I'm, for all the fun things and all the hard things I've experienced, I'm summarizing it and create and making something digestible and it feels meaningful. So I like that part of writing, but then editing is again like the gym. It's like
mhm.
that's where I see the most growth. That's where I see the most development of my style. So I can't say I like one more than the other, but I definitely like everything in different ways. Um, so yeah, it's kind of a hard question. If I had to pick one, I would just write though. That would for sure be the only.
Yeah,
If I had to sit in one room for the rest of my life and do one thing, it would be write.
yeah. No, and that makes a lot of sense. Because yeah, I mean, you love, like, you're great with your voiceover and your writing, in my opinion. Do you typically write that stuff after you've filmed the footage or before, out of curiosity?
Again, it kind of goes back and forth. Like sometimes I'll have a pretty developed idea of what I want to say. So like a really good example of that was my video about God. I knew
Hmm.
how that was going to be start and end, and I more or less, there were a couple instances where the footage kind of wrote one of the lines for me. It was like, oh, I have this footage and it works really well. How am I going to contextualize it?
Yep.
But for the most part, that one was like written, and then I put the footage to the thought. But then a lot of other times, like, because I just film everything all the time, I'll go out and I'll do something and I'll have this footage and I'll be like, okay, how does this slot into something? And so then it works in reverse. So it just like the music thing, it just varies.
Well, and I think like the outdoor industry video, you said that was all shot without much of a plan, and then the VO was later, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which was pretty awesome that it came together the way it did. I'm so stoked on that video.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's fascinating, because like when you look at that video, it feels so premeditated, and the fact that it isn't, I find very fascinating.
It took a while. Like I knew everything I had shot, and I was having a hard time before I left. I remember telling my little sister, I'm like, what, am I just going to make another video about a bunch of middle-class people going on our stupid road trip to go mountain biking? And then I was like, that's exactly what I'll do.
Nailed it.
And then, yeah, I mean, awesome. It was easy. Like I've always had pretty, I've always had a lot of opinions about that Patagonia ad, and I thought it would be really fun to, like, the ad is so funny in and of itself because it defends itself. And like what I mean by that is, like, for anyone who criticizes it, they're just like, well, we told you not to buy it. What didn't you understand about it? And it's like a masterclass in virtue signaling.
Yep.
And I was really excited about making a video that basically used the exact same format at the end to build this whole like message and thought, and then to put the like caveat ending on the end that's like hard to argue with, just as, I mean, essentially the exact same form of virtue signaling that they use in that Patagonia ad. It was just like very fun. It was a very fun writing process, that one.
Yes.
And then, like, I'm probably more proud of the last line of that video than I am of many of the others I've made, because at the end I say something like, all this adventure is worth something, but it also costs something.
Yeah.
And what I love about that is you can interpret it different ways. You can interpret it as cost of the products, of the items, like cost as far as like buying nice things, or the cost of the fact that we're just making a bunch of stuff. We're just making a bunch of landfill fuel for our selfish, fulfillment. And like, depending on what you want to get out of the video, you can hear different things in one line. And so that was an example of, like, the footage was shot first, but once I realized, I was like, okay, I'm basically going to the Patagonia video.
Yes.
Then I was like, okay, we can figure this out.
Well, and there was so many subtle hints. Like, I had even written down the shot of your friend, I can't remember if her name was in the video or not, but like when you asked her why she does it, and she was like, oh, it's just fun. And then you held that shot in the edit to where she like kind of smirked off to this, like there was just kind of this like smugness of like, I know what I'm doing, and I am keeping a lot of really intentional, like, there's some jabs, but I've also got a message here. And I thought that was so clever.
Well, yeah, my goal now, my new goal for all the videos I put a lot of thought into are to be dialogue pieces that start some kind of conversation about something. And that one was just like, if I could harness whatever I had going on that video more often, I would be so excited, because it's subtle enough that for those who are looking for it, there's a lot to read into. Mm-hmm. But for those who are just watching it casually, it also lands. So yeah, I'm so proud of that video. It's kind of silly.
Yeah, and with that outdoor video, I had a couple of like fun nerdy questions that again are pretty superficial, but like I just have to ask them because that's who I am and I love this stuff. Yeah,
please do.
But like the first one I had was like, you shoot a lot of, I think it's 4:3 if I know the aspect ratio correctly. Is that like, that's a choice? You know, what are your thoughts? Yeah,
it's
there?
funny
because like, I've got my own interpretation, but obviously I'd love to hear what you think about that. And like in the edit, like FX3 doesn't even shoot 4:3, right? Like you're doing that in post.
Yeah, no, it's cropped. Yeah. So there are a couple answers to this. The most surface level answer I would give would be, The same way back in 2015, everyone wanted the anamorphic look, and everyone was uploading the widest possible aspect ratio with fake anamorphic blue flares, and it just was the tone of the time. I do think if it's not already fully mainstream, like 4x3 is we are going through that right now.
Yep.
It's very much just like a sign of the times. So that's a boring answer. A practical answer is I do shoot a lot of actual 16 millimeter 4x3 like film.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of it in that outdoor industry video. Like a lot of those shots are shot on 16 millimeter Kodak 250D Vision 3 film.
Yep.
And to edit that into a 16:9 timeline means you have the black bars on the like the film sections, which is fine because we see all kinds of people doing that exactly. Like that's a huge Wes Anderson thing is he'll switch aspect ratios within a scene.
Yeah.
Different shots will be different aspect ratios. And then you see that has bled over into A24 a bunch where A24 will do full movies in 4x3 or they'll do scenes in 4x3. But my favorite answer is because 4x3 is for sure a different tone than 16:9 or anything wider. And the tone is a lot more it feels very personal. It feels very like cropped in, very tight. It feels like you're in a small room with whatever the subject is. And for my style of videos, it's been working really well because they are such personal pieces more often than not. And so I like the feeling that it feels like you're enclosed in my thoughts with me.
Yep.
And yeah, and like framing is also kind of like the rules are different in 4x3. Like the rule of thirds doesn't really apply as much when you're shooting 4x3. Like center framing works a lot better.
Yep.
And because I'm a Wes Anderson fan, because I'm super unique and I'm a millennial, I'm a big fan of center framing. And like a 16:9 center frame shot just does not feel the same as a 4x3 center frame shot. Yeah, there's a couple reasons for it, but it's certainly not just because it's the thing to do right now. Like I think very hard before I start editing whether or not this is a 16:9 or a 4x3 or a both video.
Yes.
And depending on the subject matter is what dictates the aspect ratio, not the other way around.
Yeah. No, and I think that is a perfect, succinct like footnote to all of this. Because again, and I've kind of been having to do this a lot more lately, right? Like some of these choices, like we were talking about earlier, you just forget, like when you're naive and you don't know why, for better or for worse, whether you want to become that expert or not, like we were talking about, like everything you just said is important to think about. And I think that's the biggest takeaway I've had about learning aspect ratio is like, oh, I used to just throw black bars again, because good old Petey Mick was doing it. But then it's like, but it's like genuinely, if you are wanting to have the anamorphic look, you need to frame differently, right? Because in that way, you're just cutting stuff off. And if you framed it for 16:9, so it's like the takeaway, like you said, is aspect ratio and using it in your editing is a choice, and you probably should be thinking about it from the beginning and like what you're trying to tell. So
there is a great deal to be said. There's a great deal to be said about visual language. Like the example of anamorphic is great because like anamorphic has a very specific tone and visual language. And the better you get, the more you're able to match the visual language with your actual topic or tone or the literal language of the video. And that's something that like in the last year, I feel like I've been way more conscious of is, you hear about these amazing directors and they'll like put some super minor detail in the scene that's supposed to represent something or communicate something. You're like, how do you think like that? Well, it's like now that I have 14 years of practice, I'm thinking, like what color is this thought? What framing is this thought? Like these words, how best will these words be visually communicated? How can I use something physical as a metaphor to communicate? And so that to me is, as far as what I was saying earlier, like my taste getting better is I'm thinking less about like, what's the cool editing thing I'm going to do? And I'm thinking more about like, how does this whole cocktail come together to communicate what I'm
Yep.
trying to say, you know. But I'm still learning. I'm not amazing at it. I'm still figuring it out.
It's almost it in a and again, this can go back to our learning thing, but it's like almost the secret to like being good at anything is almost just being aware of like what you need to learn. And that's like the missing piece. Because when you don't know,
Yeah.
you're kind of, naively doing something. But then when you're like, okay, like now that I know what aspect ratio can be used to represent, like maybe I'm not good at it yet, but I at least kind of
Yeah.
know where I'm heading and
Right.
what it could mean. So
Yeah.
yeah,
For
very
sure.
cool. The other somewhat superficial question I had, because I just liked it, and I think, whether or not the choice is important could be discussed, but the handwritten like painting text, again, trying to kind of put my mind in the I don't know how to, like, trying to get Schaefer tips and tricks, right? Like I don't know how to do this. Like I am kind of
Oh yeah.
curious for me and all the editing nerds, like how did you do that? And
Yeah.
where was
Yeah.
your head at with that?
Dude, magical little place called dafont.com.
Seriously, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no. But the backstory to that is I watched it's by this director Chris Lundy, who I really like. He's kind of in this snowboard world, but he made an ad for Prada, believe it or not. And I don't give two flying fricks about Prada, but in the Prada ad, he used this weird like Tim Burton like Grinch, how the Grinch stole Christmas font, and it just felt, it was like so weird
Mm-hmm.
that like there was this high, but and it was just white text on black screen in a Prada ad, and it literally for sure was just some Dafont random font, and it inspired me so much. I was just like, why do we all use either, like the super clean spaced out sans serif font, or we just use like the serif font, and you add your glow and your flicker to it and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's just like the current. It's just weird that the time period has a font.
Yep.
It's just very strange. On YouTube, you don't see a whole diversity of fonts being used, and in my last couple of videos, I'm like, I just find it interesting that like we have same with music, man. It's like in the Casey Neistat era, everyone was using the same like chill hop beats music,
Yep.
and I was just like, does anyone know there's other music? Like there's more music in the world than just that, and I feel the same about fonts right now. It's like there are part of the creative process and video making, right, is it's a little bit collage making. You're kind of taking work from other people and you're arranging it in something that feels cohesive and like it's your own or whatever. But with music, it's like a lot of the music I use isn't my own, and I try to use music that's like different than the Casey Neistat chill hop YouTube pilled music.
Yep.
And I've realized fonts are another opportunity to like make my collage stand out a little bit different. It's like, well, let's use this like I think that font was inspired by the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas movie font, and
Yeah.
I was just like, well, this is kind of a deserty, it's kind of a deserty video, and that obviously worked well for Fear
Yeah.
and Loathing in Las Vegas, so maybe I can steal a little bit of that magic. And then like in my Tiny Lens review, I used a font similar to what I saw in that Prada ad, and I'm my mind is opening to the possibilities of, like, again, we're talking about visual language.
Yep.
There's so much power in fonts, and the status quo thing of just like, this is the font you use, this is the music you use because we're YouTube filmmakers, and if you do anything other than that, then like it's not the vibe. I'm challenging myself to figure out what are these things that are just automated in my brain, and how can I just break that? How can I break that and just use freaking, paint font, or how the Grinch stole Christmas font, or
Yes.
like
Totally. Dude, I'm so glad I asked this, because I kind of thought it would be a silly question and you would just be like, oh, I just kind of like made it the graphic myself or whatever. But like, again,
if I got to give myself credit for one thing, I very rarely do something by accident. There's usually a lot of thought behind stuff
it.
like the font choice, and
But like, if you don't, like, again, to whoever might be watching this, if you don't know about dafont.com, DAFONT, like it's literally a resource with tons of free fonts, and so many of them are, like you said, are just completely whack. And like it's like it's not hard
Yeah.
to go get them. And so I thought like, oh, I bet he like went into After Effects and like really made this like thing for this video. And you're like, oh no, it's just DaFont. And I'm like, yes, that's amazing. Like I love that you're just like
it's awesome.
using these tools.
Dafont.com is probably my favorite website. It's like has like Yahoo Answers vibes. It feels like something that's gonna get shut down.
For sure.
And yeah, so and it's funny too because specifically on that Tiny Lens video, so many comments were like, "I'm in love with this font. What is the font?" And it's hilarious to me because I went on DaFont. I just went to like the Christmas section and went to like page 22, and I was like, that one's good.
Yep. Dude, that's amazing. Oh,
but it's just because it's like something different. There's someone out there that's like, that's crazy, but it's just a stupid DaFont font. So, and it just makes me wonder, like, it took me this many years to just realize you can use other fonts. I'm like, man, what else am I doing that's just automated? How else can I break the, all of the assumptions in my head that's like, oh, you have to use Book Antiqua serif font or, whatever.
Totally. Which might be some of the music stuff you're going to be doing, might be I felt that way with graphics a ton lately, where it's just like, man, like there's a lot that is pre-made out there to be at your disposal, which is fantastic, but also like I don't know, I'm with you. I just feel like that's a world that I'm trying to kind of start to unlock a little bit with the full anticipation of what you said, where it's like there's got to be better ways to do some of this, and tips and tricks and tools, and I'm with you. I love when you stumble upon something like that.
Yeah. And the origin of all of this is the fact what we were talking about earlier is like everyone is copying from something, but on YouTube there's this kind of, I don't know, a good word for it would be disease, where everyone only samples from YouTube. And so like every YouTube video looks like a YouTube video.
Yep.
And yeah, if you just take inspiration from literally anywhere else, it feels like you're like some creative mastermind, when really it's just like, no, I'm just not using Casey Neistat chill hop with sans serif font. That's all I'm doing.
That's all I'm doing.
It's not.
Oh, I'm so glad I asked. I thought that was going to be kind of a lame question, and that was
a great question.
That was such a good kickoff for a really cool conversation around like, well, and I feel that way like I didn't pay for stock footage sites for forever because I thought like, wow, what a total ripoff. And then I finally kind of caved just to like see what was there. And it's like, I think the negative perception I had around stock footage was exactly what you're saying, where it's like, if you just rip it and ship it, it looks like stock footage. But like I love taking something that's so boring and generic, and maybe I'm cutting people out, maybe I'm adding different effects. It's like you can totally put a flavor onto it that then suddenly just feels like, oh, like this still feels like a Jake video. This still feels like a Schaefer video.
Yeah, I mean,
and I love that.
We have an endless palette of resources, and it's like, we are trained to only use the crayons.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, like, get out the brushes.
Yeah, which is kind of like why this like music and sound thing is my big interest right now, because I'm like, I have no business recording any sort of like sound or music or anything. I have no business doing it. I'm not good enough at an instrument. I don't know anything about Logic. I mean, Logic is, I'm just learning and all that sort of stuff, but I'm just like, it's one of these things that's on, it's available to us. And, I just got this thing. I just got this Korg Volca Beats drum maker thing.
Yes.
Let me give you a little sample. Let me give you a little sample of what I have access to now, just out of sheer interest. Like, just because I was like, oh, I wonder if that would be.
Dude, that totally sounds like a Trent Reznor, like 9 Inch Nails start to a song almost.
Yeah. And yeah, so I've just been getting into like, what else can I do? Like what are people not doing? Like, what do we have access to in our creative toolbox that's just not even
Yeah.
like acknowledged. And so it's
Well,
just been fun. I just love it. Just we're in this giant sandbox and you can do whatever you want. And yet
yeah.
we don't.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, and
We
like
have a full creative potential. And I don't know.
totally.
I don't want to make it sound like I'm better than anyone. I'm not. I'm just like,
But no, but that
you
is the
know,
point. That is the point. And I think a lot of people get lost in the sauce thinking that, like, oh, Schaefer's trying to say, like, how revolutionary is. It's like, no, like, the secret is, like, just think for 2 seconds about, like, trying to use something different. And that's it. Like, as soon as you flip that switch in your brain, dude, the world opens up to you. You know? Like,
yeah,
everyone tries to
yeah,
make you
yeah.
think that that's so hard and so closed off. But, like, as soon as you flip that switch, like, suddenly it's like, oh, okay.
I know. Well, I can even pull this back to the Peter McKinnon thing because it's like we can all say like we want Peter McKinnon to make videos because Peter McKinnon's a YouTuber and he needs to make videos. And for him to just be like, like one of the things I have the option to do is to make a book.
Hmm.
And everyone's like, no,
Yeah.
that's not a video, Peter. Silly Peter. It needs to be a YouTube video. And he's like, no, I'm doing what I want to do. And whether or not it's like whether or not I'm like, oh yeah, Peter McKinnon's doing the coolest thing ever. It doesn't even matter if I think what he's doing is cool or not because he's doing what he wants to do.
Yep.
And that to me is more admirable than any amount of subscribers. It's more admirable. And yeah, I mean, with this film thing too, he's like putting these, I'm not a big fan of it. These like kind of like ugly white borders on his photos. And, but, it's like, it's his creative choice and he is in control.
Yep.
And for those out there who are just in control of their own destiny creatively, that's what I look up to more than, it's like, I don't really watch a lot of YouTube unless I feel like the person is truly themselves. Case in point, why I think Jesse is one of the best ever. It's like no one else is making Jesse Driftwood videos.
No
like
one.
only Jesse can do it.
Yep.
And I mean, yeah, it's okay. Now, actually, I kind of just made our own transition, but I got to tell you the Jesse Driftwood slime story because
Tell me the slime story, dude.
I've just been waiting. So I had the opportunity to meet him this summer. Me and Jake Frew were doing a bunch of work kind of nearby, and Jake was going to drive his van back through and hang out with him. And I was really on the fence as to whether or not like I was going to go for a couple different reasons. One, because my self-doubt is like, he's going to hate me. And so I was like, I was freaking out about it this whole time. Like, should I go? Should I not go? Cause I could just get a flight home. And the night before I had to decide, I had this like the most vivid dream I've ever had in my entire life where me and Jake were like hanging out at Evil Empire and Jesse had just gotten this super sick new coffee machine and he's like, you guys got to try this coffee machine. And I was all nervous because I've looked up to him forever, and I like dumped, how Evil Empire is, they have all sorts of random stuff laying around, and I dumped this vat of green slime all over his coffee machine. And in my dream, he got so mad at me. He's like, who do you think you are coming in here? And like, we need this coffee machine. That's our creative fuel. And then that green slime was going to be used for like some other project. And he was all mad. And so then I was like, I can't go.
No, you didn't go.
So I bet, yeah, dude, I couldn't do it. I was like, this subconscious is telling me something. I'm gonna mess up.
Oh,
so I flew home.
Man.
True story.
Dude, that's so funny. Which is when you said slime, I thought you were gonna talk about like protein shakes and like he loves the other shakes, but it was literal green slime.
Green slime. Yep.
Dang.
My subconscious got my way. But yeah, I mean, I just look up to that. Same with Jake. Like he's one I've never met, but I look up to that guy so much. Like one of the things, similarly to how Pete, I admire how he just does whatever he wants. I admire that Jesse just looks like he sincerely cares about the people around him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so admirable. And, this is all, again, just from my perspective as an internet viewer. But I look up so much to people who are just like people.
Yeah.
And he's one of the real ones from what I can tell. So, okay, I'll stop talking about Jesse Driftwood now.
No, but I mean, it would be the biggest Because there's, I don't know. I mean, and I think just part of being human is reading people. And I got to tell you, if it ever, well, and I've talked to him and it was, like he seems exactly how he is and he is from what I can tell. But like if somehow it was to come out that he's like putting on the greatest act of all time, like that would be like the end of my existence as I knew it, because then just like there's nothing to believe in anymore if Jesse is somehow able to fake that level of like sincerity.
And that's the case with everyone in this niche. It's like it's such an incredible community, and I don't know. I just feel so like when I was making videos, by myself when I was in high school, just if I had ever been told it was going to open the door to like such an incredible community vibe,
Yeah,
and I don't know, like the doors it's open and the people that it's led to has just been so much more than I ever needed to get out of it. Like
yep,
again, like I said, every day I wake up, I'm just like, how is this real? It's so cool.
totally.
And I feel bad sometimes because I also am inherently pretty constructively critical. So of the whole thing, I've also said like many, many negative things, but it's kind of just who I am. But at the end of the day, it's like I have nothing but gratitude for this little universe we inhabit.
Oh, for
So
sure.
it's cool.
Dude, you can absolutely be critical and filled with gratitude. Like those are not mutually exclusive
Yeah. Oh yeah.
existences.
Yeah.
And I think
That's my thought.
for sure. No, and I think you are the perfect shining example of
That's
that.
your thought that I align with. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I agree. I mean, what we're doing today, which is just so like random and weird, like my cup is filled to the absolute it's full. It's full. The cup is full. Cuz yeah, it's just like
Same, man.
I
Yeah.
I was with you. It's like, man, it's fun making stuff alone, and as soon as you start to find more people that like the thing you like, I mean, it's like a drug, dude. It's so good.
Yeah, it is. It's so cool. It's so cool.
God, we're like almost hitting on 2 hours. I have to ask. This is not about the outdoor video, but I, again, being a deep fan, am hoping to impress you with an anger video question because I am very interested in something, and maybe I'm wrong, but from what I remember in all of my Jake Frew Schaefer Nickel fandom, you said you didn't have the final sequence to the anger video filmed like to the very last minute, which the
Mhm.
last shot was you and Jake doing the car thing. So was that after you had said that?
No. But we shot that first opening scene, um, like the part where I throw the ball at the windshield. We
Yeah.
had shot that. And then I always am feeling like I could have gotten a couple more angles or a couple more, And so, first off, we shot it the first time and it came out like all right, but the problem was both of us kept laughing. And you could, like, I forgot you can tell if someone is smiling from behind because the contour of their face changes. And so, that the first take we did, like you could just tell Jake was just laughing and me too. Like I would walk out of frame and then I would just like start dying laughing. And so we had to reshoot it. And then while we were reshooting it, I was like, let's get a couple more angles because I could just use a little bit more like for this one sequence.
Okay.
And then after the fact, when we had that conversation, I was like, I need to figure out a way to finish this. I went back through and realized we shot like the gimbal shots of me walking, the shot of him driving away and me turning around and looking all angry. And I was like, oh my God, we already shot the last scene. Like this works perfectly as the last, like as the full circle. Cause I'm a big fan of full circle endings. And originally my cornball idea was that first shot where the hand comes up. My first idea was I was going to do that again, but I was going to be like tiny guy and I was going to be like controlling the hand kind of.
Ooh.
And I did
Yeah.
like that was my idea from the very start. That was going to be the full circle ending. And the further along I got in the video, I was just like, God, that's a tacky ending. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that's so corny. And then yeah, when I realized because the more I was writing that video, the more I realized like, man, what I want to say about this isn't I have a problem with anger, and so I did this, this, and this, and now I'm healed.
Yeah.
Instead, it was more like, this is an ongoing thing that I'm like learning through. And so when I realized, like, first off, I didn't want to end it where it was like like overcame the obstacle. Then I was like, oh my gosh, the full circle thing isn't the hand. It has to be the opening shot of the windshield.
Yep.
And so it worked perfectly. It kind of was an accident, but yeah, I'm really happy with the fact that it worked out that way, because it is true. Sometimes I think videos, especially like self-helpy videos,
Yep.
they always end with, or they're always about like, I used to be bad and then I did this and this and now I'm good. And that's rarely in life the case. That's almost never the case. Usually it's like, I struggle with this. Some things kind of help, but I'm a work in progress. That's what life is really actually like. And so moving forward for my more like self-helpy videos, I want that to be more of a thing I'm open to, is just ending on, and I don't have the answer.
Yep.
Because that's the truth of the matter. Like I have a predisposition to just kind of laugh at self-help videos and books and stuff when people are like, I used to be like this and now I'm like this. I'm like, people don't work like that.
Yeah.
People really don't work like that. Like the idea of a relapse isn't just an Alcoholics Anonymous thing. It's like you relapse on all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was pretty happy with the way that all panned out. So yeah, another good question.
No, well, it's funny because you say visually with the hand shot. I agree. That sounds like such a cool ending from like a visual perspective. But dude, I was just pinching myself because again, it's like I was sitting there. It's like as soon as you went out for the walk and then you had that shot pan down to you walking, I was like, damn it, what a clever ending, because of course,
good. I'm glad.
Of course it's like, oh, yep, I'm all better. I'm going on my walk. And then it cuts to that shot of you with Jake. And I was like, damn, that was good.
Thanks for noticing. Yeah. Thanks for noticing. Cause again, it's the same thing with like the music thing and the font thing. It's just like another cliche or another thing that's just overused is just the happy ending.
Yep.
Like every YouTube video has to be happy and has to have a positive, and therefore, but like books don't work like that. Movies don't work like that. Music doesn't work like that. Like sorrow and unknowing and fear and pain, those are all, and I'm guilty of it too. A lot of my past like videos about fear and pain or everything is just like, I overcame it. But yeah, I'm kind of growing out of that now and realizing that's not really how a lot of great art works. A lot of great art sits in difficult emotion. It doesn't solve difficult emotion.
For sure. Dude, that's so well said. Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah, some of those movies that stick with you are the ones that the first time you watch it, you're like, well, that's disappointing.
Yeah, what? That sucked.
How could they do this to me?
Yeah.
I need to be satisfied and fulfilled.
Where was the bow? I need the bow. Well, hey, I have sucked away your entire morning here, and I am so...
Oh, dude, it was a pleasure. Yeah,
so
thanks for the invite,
of
man.
it. Dude, thank you so much for coming on. And
it was an honor.
I do have to say to all the listeners, I feel like there was a lot of really good nerdy editing nuggets in here, but man, we got a little lost in the great conversation sauce, and I'm not sorry for that. I'm just saying that this one might be a little bit of a commitment if you're just here for the editing, and that's okay. That's what we do.
Yeah, sorry everybody. Editing coextends far beyond your computer. Editing is woven in with your real life, and that's okay.
There's your happy ending bow on this episode, is editing is real life.
Yeah.
Find inspiration. But we said we wouldn't do that. No. We need to end. It needs to not be such a good ending, Schaefer.
No, that's good. That's good. That's okay. There can still be good ending.
Thank you so much. Don't be a stranger. And
yes, sir. Likewise.
Where can we all find you? We got to do the gratuitous. I mean, it's Schaefer Nickel on YouTube.
Dude, that's not really.
Not that I'm bringing, I'm not bringing a whole lot of people, but everyone should, in my opinion, know where you are. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we can't at least put it there.
Don't honestly, just if you want to do me a favor, just subscribe to Jake's channel and then also just keep making stuff. I would be way more stoked if people just kind of got inspired to make their own stuff instead of I don't want to lead anyone to spend any more time online really.
Hey,
So don't bother.
that's an admirable answer. I respect that.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, hey, again, thank you so much. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks. Say thanks
Yeah.
to
Thanks
Schaefer.
everybody. Thanks.
Bye, man.